Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I'm so happy to have you here with me today. I was thinking a little bit about how we need to have a little bit of humility sometimes when it comes to realizing that we don't know everything, and that sometimes it's hard to admit that there's some things that we need to work on. I think with the whole, just in general, like manifestation community, like there's a lot that's like, if you just do this you will get this, or if you just do this you'll get that. And although those things are very much so true, a lot of the times we don't realize that there's still things that we have to work on. And a lot of the times I realize, especially for me, because I like to reference my own story when I tell you guys things from my own personal experience, that you definitely go through the 7 stages of grief when you are changing your life, or when you are on your way to becoming that new person and having that new identity. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, kind of going through the 7 stages of grief. In a way, I'll kind of just break it down slightly. I don't want to make it too technical, but I do want to bring attention to it because I believe that some of us, it's not that easy. I'm just going to go ahead and say that manifestation and changing our lives in general and actually sustaining the change is not easy for a lot of people. So I want to kind of reiterate that sometimes when I see you guys in the comments and you guys are saying certain things about how it's hard for you to change, or you're having a little bit of trouble, I don't think we talk enough about going through the stages of grief when you are trying to better yourself. So this is my notebook where I write all my little thoughts and my concepts down that I like to share with you guys. So I do have some notes here. So as we know, there's 7 stages of grief, and the first one is shock and denial. And I believe that that comes from admitting that we don't know everything, that there's some things that we really need to change. Like, it's taking a look and just really seeing that, okay, I really want to change this about myself. It's kind of like having that mirror held up to you for you to realize that you can't go on any longer in the space that you're in. So it's realizing that you really want to make a change. And sometimes it is hard for us to deny, because I remember when I moved here, and I think I told you guys in another video about how when I got into kind of like my new reality, I still was going through a lot of changes. And I do believe I was going through like the 7 stages of grief. And I was so jaded for so long. I just threw myself into work and I just worked it all away. But I didn't realize that I was really going through a death, like an ego death, like a mourning of your old life. And that's really what it is. And you will experience this, you guys, because sometimes we backtrack not even realizing that we are going through that stage. And sometimes it's hard to kind of like cling to get away from that old us. And so when we find ourselves keep going back and clinging on to certain things, it is a part of the grief process. And I think that once you kind of realize that you're going through this process, it is a little bit easier for you to work through. So the second one is pain and guilt. And you guys, when I really started thinking about this is what I always talk about, guys. What I always round it back to is shame around pain and guilt, and having shameful things that we might act out. So if you notice, when you are on the way to changing your life, sometimes you find yourself wanting to escape and engage in all the shameful behaviors. And a lot of that shame and things come up and it triggers you. And sometimes you might want to engage in certain things when you feel like there's a breaking down of the old paradigm. And it's good to realize that, because I fell into like a little spell where I was just kind of going and doing certain things and seeking validation and seeking all sorts of things. And I did not know. And I'm like, well, if I have this life, or I have this new way opening for me, like, why do I feel so sad? And why do I feel like all of the things that trigger me are coming up right now? And it is because you guys are going through that stage, you're going through those stages, like a lot of these things are going to come up, a lot of your triggers are going to come up, a lot of the shameful things that have been placed on you are going to come up. So you might find yourself wanting to engage in certain behaviors, some good and some not good, you know, but that's up for you to decide. And the third one is anger and resentment. And usually the anger is directed towards other people. It's kind of like blame. You want to place blame when you realize that, oh, and this is a big one for like, especially like our parents, and when we get into reparenting ourselves, we find ourselves like, if we're not able to cope, like then we start blaming everything and everyone else around us. And we, of course, our circumstances have played a part into us getting to now where we can clear the space and clear the air, but sometimes we don't realize and we get stuck there. So this video is mainly for people who get stuck in a certain paradigm where they're finding it hard to shift out of, not realizing that they're going through a grieving process of their old lives and the old them. All right. So the reflection part can turn into like loneliness and depression. So I know for me, like I remember when I first moved here, I couldn't get out of the bed for a few days. Like I think I was in such shock, and to me it was such a surprise, but I did feel like lonely. I had all these thoughts, I had all these feelings, and a lot of resentments and a lot of self-doubts. So in that time, it's like sometimes we need a moment to reflect. And you know, it is lonely, and it is, you're going to be by yourself sometimes when you are getting away from certain people and places. And I'm sure if you ever moved, you felt that before, where you were just kind of getting out of that old space and that old you, and then you have all this new space and opportunity to create the new you, but it's kind of hard because you just feel lonely and you don't understand, like if you're supposed to be so happy, then why does it not feel happy? All right, why can't you allow yourself to feel happy? All right, so number 5 is an upward turn of events. So this is when things start to look up. You feel ready to take charge in your life. You're like, okay, well, I can start making certain habits, I can start doing certain things to see where I have the control in this situation, where I can do certain things to kind of get myself to back on the track, or on a track that benefits me and has me progressing in life. And the reconstruction is the building and putting your new ideas into practice, your new affirmations, your new sorry guys, that's my fridge making that noise. But you'll be defining your new life and defining the new rules for your life, making your world concept and making your own morals and your views, and establishing a new rules for your new life and your new paradigm of what you will allow and what you won't allow. So it's basically like putting your new standards into place. So I noticed around that time when I started to get like, okay, well, what do I want my life to truly look like now? And I was able to put those certain standards and those certain parameters around myself and my new life and who I want it to be. And it just made it a little bit more easier. And then number 7, that is acceptance and hope. And so I want to talk a little bit more about this, because acceptance, especially for me, I do have quite a bit of an ego. So I realize that even me doing these videos, like with me just recording them and not editing them too much, like I realized how much of a perfectionist I have been, and I've been working to break out of that. So I think acceptance and hope has been really just beneficial to me, because I had to realize that there are some things that I want to work on. And like I said, I wanted to work on my speaking skills. I wanted to work on having more confidence in front of the camera. I wanted to be able to put my message across and have people resonate with it, and not worry about being perfect, or not worry about saying the right thing all the time, and just bringing my thoughts and my ideas and my concepts and the way that I do things, and hopefully other people will resonate with it. And it's been amazing, but I think I had to sit down and realize if I want my life to change, I have to do something that is going to help me make that change. And I immediately knew that I was just going to start making videos and start telling you guys what I know. And it's been hard to just accept, even in me watching back some of these videos, accepting that there's certain things that I would like to work on within my communication style. And for someone like me who is definitely doesn't like to look at the things that I need to work on, I've always shied away from like really seeing what I really want to change and holding that mirror up to myself. It's been hard for me, you guys. So this it is in accepting that if I want to get to my new desired reality, I have to accept and admit that I want to change. And I think sometimes we do all these techniques and all these things and we hope that we're going to get just an outcome, but on the inside you still feel like there's something missing because you have not realized that you are going through this process, and it is the coming undone of your old life and your old paradigm, and you taking control and accepting that you have the power to create your life the way that you want to. And I think sometimes we don't realize how much control that we actually have over our emotions and our lives just in general, you guys. So if you find it hard to manifest or change your life or become this new person that you want to be, you have to realize, and especially when you're battling with going back and forth with your thoughts, it is really going through that grief period. And I would advise you guys to go and look up the 7 stages of grief and realize like, okay, like there's some things I'm working through, and the goal is not to stay there for long, but the goal is to realize, so it makes sense when you go into doing the things and having the new affirmations and reprogramming your mind and, you know, impressing your subconscious, all these things that we hear and that we know that we need to do. It's hard to do it when you don't realize that you're going through a grieving process, you guys. So, and the last thing I wanted to talk about was humility. And not humility from a point of, oh, you need to be humble about like your material shit or whatever. No, it's humility in knowing that no one is perfect, that your journey is not perfect, and that you yourself will have all these struggles. And it's one thing for other people to have their own critiques about you and their own criticisms about you, but us ourselves, sometimes we are the most critical of ourselves. And you have to realize, like, you have to give yourself space to realize, like, okay, this is a process, and I need to have a little humility in the way of giving over to this process and allowing this process to take place, so that way I can get my desired outcome. So start here, you guys. Realize that you are going through a process of your old life, your old paradigm, the way that you saw things. It is going to be hard, and it is going to be lonely at times. Of course, you're going to have to, you know, get away from certain people or stop doing certain things. Like, that's all a part of the process. Don't think that just because you're going through those things that somehow your manifestation is not coming or your new life is not coming, guys. So I hope that video helps you, and look up the 7 stages of grief. I will drop a link in my description box, and don't forget to download my free mind assessment worksheet, you guys. And I'm so happy to have you here with me, and let's keep going on these videos, you guys. So I hope you have a great one. Bye.